Hello and happy Tuesday. Let's please get out our packets if they're not already out. We are going to check over the first 3 pages, so the ones we did last night for homework, 183, 184, and 185. Today is Tuesday. 3, 10, 15. We have 2 days till spring break. Remember, we're doing math today and math on Wednesday. Thursday, we will do career day, then we'll do our 20-minute schedule. In my room, we'll do locker clean out, and in the afternoon, we'll do kind of the movie celebration of end of third quarter. So please pay attention today, and I'll be back tomorrow to see how we did and to help you finish the packet. And this will be your last grade that goes in the grade book for quarter 3. So please make sure you pay attention and follow along today. All right, so for vertical angles, we'll have 3 and 4, supplementary 7 and 8. Remember, you could have also had 14 and 15, 1 and 2, or 9 and 10. So any of those would work, or if you listed them all. And then a linear pair is the same as supplementary, so any of those 4 that I just said would work. As far as congruent angles go, we don't know quite yet kind of what corresponding angles are and vice versa. So the one thing we do know is vertical angles are congruent, and 3 and 4 are our only ones that we have. So 3 and 4 are congruent. And then ones that are supplementary and congruent, well, we can't be positive they're congruent without measuring, but either 1 and 2, 7 and 8, or 9 and 10 are supplementary because they make up a straight line, and then congruent because they both appear to be right angles. So the only ones that don't appear out of the 4 that I listed, so here's 1 and 2, here's 9 and 10, here's 7 and 8. So 14 and 15, they're talking about these 2 angles. So this pair of supplementaries is the only one that does not appear to be like 90-90, because 14 is acute and 15 is obtuse. So on D, when it says which ones are supplementary but are not congruent, you can say this pair because 14 is acute and 15 is obtuse. Okay, so they're adjacent and supplementary, meaning they're next to each other. They add up to 180, but I know that they're probably not right angles because they don't meet at a perpendicular. And perpendicular means something meets at a right angle. All right, the measure of angle 2 would be 118. These 2 are supplementary, which means they add up to 180. Okay, on F, it says nothing about supplementary or complementary, so it's just saying if 3 is 76, what's 4? Well, on the last page, we decided that 3 is congruent to 4 because vertical angles are congruent. So that would tell us that measure of angle 4 is the same as measure of angle 3. Okay, when I am grading these after you turn them in Wednesday, tomorrow, well, actually, no, we'll turn them in on Thursday when you come to me for that 20 minutes because we'll have class tomorrow, but if you need to finish, that'll be fine. But anyway, when we turn them in at the end of the week, like when it says explain how you determine, make sure you say that because vertical angles have the same measure. Or like on G right here where it says, what do you think 12 is? Well, 90 because they meet at a perpendicular. So if we go back to the map, those 2 roads are perpendicular here in appearance. And so that would tell me that the angle measurement of 12. So the question was kind of seeing if you knew perpendicular meant 90 degrees or right angle. So make sure you say something about that. And remember, you can go home tonight. Obviously, if we don't finish the video in class, you have to go home tonight and watch the video from where you left off. But if like you don't have all this done, you could go home and watch the video, and that could help you with the first 3 pages as well. All right, so on this one, I helped most people draw a picture. So for the acute angle, we had X, and then we knew this one was 3 times bigger. So then we knew that this would be 3X. Well, X plus 3X is 4X. If the whole thing equals 180 and X equals 45, make sure you answer the question. The final question says find the measure of each angle. So x is 45. So this one's 45, but I still have to plug in that 45 to solve for this one. 45 times 3 is 135. So make sure you have the measures of both angles, not just solving for your x. And I'm not going to really say like how many points they're out of. If you want to like star them maybe that they're right, but I'll be going through everybody's packet Friday when you guys are off for spring break. Okay, number 3, same as up here. If we had a little image, we know that it says supplement. So we have a straight line, and then an acute angle and an obtuse. One of them is 30 more than the other. So if they're both x, the bigger one would be 30 more. So I'll have x plus 30 plus x. And then I would solve. And don't forget, it wants to do the measure of each angle. So when you get x is 75, you will have to plug in. So make sure as your answer here, we have both 75 and 105, because 75 plus 30 is 105. All right, let's get started on the next page. All right, so before we start just answering questions, we need to know what are alternate interior angles? What are alternate exterior angles? Corresponding angles. And remember, we talked a little bit about corresponding angles yesterday when we watched the beginning of our video. So let's go ahead and turn to the back of our notes. We will pause this video and we'll go to Blackboard and we'll watch the other video and where the man shows you the transversal and the different parts. So make sure you write alternate interior angles, alternate exterior angles, and corresponding angles down. So you'll write those 3 words and then kind of either do a definition or an example. And remember, I had you yesterday in your notes draw that transversal he had. So like you'll end up saying like corresponding is this one with this one, whatever the numbers are. And so on and so forth. So go ahead and watch that video and take notes on these 3 things. All right, so the pages I want you to do today and get finished with and have done for tomorrow are 187, 188, and 189, which is on the board. So all of 10.3. And I hope you took notes, and I'll also be checking your notes to make sure you took notes and you can get points for those. All right, so we have a map of Chicago here. And our first question is name a pair of alternate interior angles. Okay, so we have right here alternate interior. So if this is my transversal, remember a transversal is a line that has one parallel on it. Right, so I tried to highlight it there for you. But alternate interior, so here is my transversal interior, so it has to be made up of these 4 numbers. And then alternate, well, if I pick 7, 12 is on the opposite side. If I pick 8, 13, so either say 7 and 12 or 8 and 13, or you can even say both. Alternate exterior, so now we have the outside. So we have the outside here, the outside of the fence. So 6 would go with 11, or 9 would go with 10. So write one of those down. Okay, corresponding angles. For example, and don't use this one, 9 would go with 12. So you press pause. Remember, we can pause this anytime. Write down a pair or discuss it with a neighbor, and then press play to check your work. All right, so we have 8 goes with 11, as you can see the answer here. That would work. 9 with 12, 6 with 13, and 7 with 10. You can write them all down, write one of them down. You got to have at least one. Next page. Name a pair of same side interior angles. So 5 and 10. So let's go see what that looks like, and let's see if we can find another pair. 5 and 10. Same side interior. Well, they only gave us the 5. Maybe if this was like 15 or something, I could use that. So go ahead and put 5 and 10. Same side exterior. Okay, so this one I think is probably the hardest one for most people. But if I am on this same side, so here's my line that like splits up the parallels. If I am on the bottom portion of it, the 9 would go with the 11. So what would the 10 go with? The 6. Alternate exterior, or no, sorry, same side. So 9 and 11 are on the same side of the line. Remember, this thing's a transversal. And then 10 and 6. So write one of those down or both of them. Same side exterior angles. All right, number 2, go ahead and press pause and have somebody volunteer. Read this out loud. Look at the intersection. So go ahead and have somebody read this and then press play when you're ready. Okay, so it wants you to label some things on the map. So use those directions and label and make sure that yours look like this. So go ahead and make sure it's labeled. Because if we label it wrong, then we're all going to be getting different answers. So 1, and then clockwise 2, 3, 4, and then down here 14, 15, 16, 17, which is different than these numbers. That way we're not getting confused what we're looking at. Make sure you have that. Once you have that, let's move on and answer questions with these new angles. So now instead of saying like, what are some same side interior angles, now I'm going to say like, hey, what does angle 1 and 4 represent? And remember, we have same side exterior, same side interior corresponding, and alternate exterior, alternate interior. So if we look at 1 and 14, one's on the inside, one's on the outside. So I know it's not exterior because they would both have to be on the outside. I know it's not interior because they'd both have to be on the inside. So these ones are corresponding. So also let me help you see the transversal here. My magical straight line. Yikes. Okay, that's maybe a little bit better. Anyways, let's go back. If we're looking at the map, you kind of flip back and forth. But let's say 1 and 14 are corresponding angles. Now it wants to know about 3 and 15. Okay, here's 3. Here's 15. Are they on the outside? No. Are they on the inside? Yes. Are they on the same side? Yes. So what would we call that? Same side interior angle. So this 10-3 is kind of learning all this new vocab here. So just kind of take your time with it. Make sure you have the definitions from this. If you want to take your volume 2 book home tonight, you do not have to, but if you wanted to, you could get definitions out of there, out of the glossary. But I do want you to go ahead and pause it and try CDE. So work with a neighbor. Let's not move around because we just don't have time. We want to finish the video. But what does 1 and 16 mean? What does 1 and 17? 3 and 14. So let's take about maybe 3 or 4 minutes to do this and then press play to check our work. And then we have one more page and we'll be done. So let's go ahead and check these real quick. We'd already did A and B. 1 and 16, alternate exterior. D, same side exterior. E, alternate interior. So make sure you have that down. Next page, and this is our last page, so if we don't finish the video or you don't finish in class for whatever reason, do this page as homework. Alright, and I showed most of you yesterday like a transversal would be a line, and then see how these pink lines have that little arrow guy here. That represents that they're parallel. So right here I have one transversal, we can call that the green one, and then I'll have like a yellow transversal over here. So if we're solving for x, and we just have like two measurements, there's a way to do it. It's just going to take us a little bit, so let's think about it. So if this is 117, what would go here? 180 minus 117 is 63. So if we had a 63 here and corresponding angles, well, 117 would go right here, and then 63 could go right here. And we could keep finding more. I could find all of these, but I don't think we have to, because let's see what's going on. I need to solve for x. Does everybody see this triangle? How many degrees forever and for always are in a triangle? 180. So now 56. So like if I get this angle, and this angle, I can do 180 minus 63 minus whatever's missing right here, and that would equal x. Well, if I get whatever's here from this, 180 minus 56, and then figure out what this is, or look right here, vertical angles are congruent. What would this be? 56. This piece corresponds here, so right here, I feel like I need a different color, would be 56. So you have a 63, 56, x triangle, and they have to add up to 180. So go ahead and solve for x. It says show all your work. I also want you to explain how you did it. So first I found corresponding angles, and I found the 63. And then I used vertical angles and corresponding angles, and I came up with a triangle. And then I did 180 minus 63 and 56 and got 61. So something like that. Let's make sure we show all our work. Okay, the last one, number 4. Okay, this is a transversal. It does stop because it bends, so I'm going to go ahead and extend this, and I want you to do the same. So imagine this line goes all the way through. So that would be like one of our lines of the transversal. And then these are the parallel bits. And I'm solving for x. And I think we can use the fact that this makes up a triangle to our advantage. So a triangle is 180. We have a 126 here. Well, this angle with the angle next to it would total up to 180. So like right here. 126 plus what is 180? All right, 54. Then let's use this 34 to see if that can help us find anything. So right here, 34, this would be, so you ignore this line for a second, but 34, this would be 34, this would be 34, and this would be 34, because vertical angles are congruent, and then this corresponds to the 34, like angles 1, 2, 3, 4. Angle 4 corresponds with angle 1, 2, or 5, 6, 7, 8, 8. So if this is 34 and vertical angles are congruent, this is 34. So if I have a 34, 54 triangle, let's solve for, do 180 minus 34 minus 54, and solve for what goes here. We're completing the triangle. It'll be 90 something. I want you to try that. Whatever you get here, that angle, say you get 98, you won't, but 90 something. You'll do 180 minus whatever you get to get that x. So I'm going to let you finish that one, and I will check your answer tomorrow, and also write me a sentence or two on how you did it. Thank you, and have